of a sudden I snatched away from her. There was this good-looking woman walking towards me. Looked like she was walking in slow motion. And her hips were talking to her. You know what I'm talking about, fellas? Take me. Take me. I said, okay. Okay. My wife looked at me and said, when she walked past you, if you look back, I'll blind you. I said, hell, I don't need but one eye. And women are smart, fine, beautiful, and they'll kill you. Let me give you an example. My wife went out of town for a 1 week's convention. She was gone for 2. She called me. Hey, baby. I said, hey, girl, look in. What's going on? The convention was only for 1 week. You've been gone 2. She said, oh, we got snowed in. Snowed in? In Tampa? She said to me the other day, I want to do something I've never done before. I said, you can get a job. I want to go someplace I've never been before. We got a kitchen. I want some good sex. I do too. And fellas, a friend of mine came into town the other day and he said to me, he said, Sid, how did you manage to stay married for 51 years? Now fellas, there are 5 things that make a marriage successful. Number 1, money. And I can't think of the other 4. And fellas, don't you ever tell your wife or your girlfriend they're gaining weight. Even if she asks you. Let me give you an example. My wife came in the house the other night and she said to me, honey, do you think I put on a few pounds? Well, say something. Now, I like to go to the gym and work out. She doesn't. So after I left the gym the other day, I had a doctor's appointment. The doctor said to me, he said, Sid, how much weight are you lifting? I said, oh, 225, 250 on a good day. He said, that's too much weight to be lifting. You don't need to be lifting all that weight. You need to get rid of some of that weight. So when I got home, my wife said, what did the doctor say? You can't get on top anymore. A friend of mine gave me a gift card to a tanning spa. I went. We tanned too. I asked the attendant, I said, hey, how often should I get this done? He said, for you, once a year, be fine. So as I was leaving, 3 white guys were walking in. I just had to do it. I said, I told him 10 minutes. That's all I asked him. Look what he did to me. Burned all the hair out of the middle of my head. Left me with all this kinky stuff. I don't know what the hell that is. What my wife gonna say when I get home? Well, look here. It's Wesley Snipes. Oh. She was out in the backyard the other day, and I heard her screaming and yelling. Oh! What? A snake! A snake! Go get your hoe! Go get your hoe! So I went next door. Kids today. You still trying to figure that out? Kids today. I hate them. Do you know you cannot deny your kid anything today? They will throw a conniption fit or kill you. Let me give you an example. I got a 6-year-old grandson. He came over to the house the other day and he said, hey, Grandpa, you want to work in the backyard? I said, said, yeah, come on, let's go. So we were out there working in the backyard, and there was this earthworm trying to crawl in this hole. And my grandson looked at me and said, hey, Grandpa, I bet you $5 I can put that worm in that hole. I said, you can't put that worm in that hole. He's all limb. You can't put nothing limb in a hole. You know, but I bet you $5. So he ran into the house, came back with a can of spray starch, sprayed the worm, stiff as a board. Shut him in the hole. I gave him $5. I took the spray starch. And went into the house. Hour later, I came back out. I gave him $10. He said, Grandpa, you already gave me $5. I said, yes, I know. But that 10 is from your grandmama. I live on a lake. The other morning I was walking down to the lake and I heard all these female voices. And I looked, and women were skinny dipping. And they looked up and saw me and they swam further out. One of them turned and said, we're not coming out until you leave. I said, you want a bet? I didn't come out here to look at all you naked women. It's 12:30. I came out here to feed my alligators. Teddies were flapping all over the place. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. I'm your MC for the night, Sid Porter. Now, your second comedian tonight, ladies and gentlemen, come to us all the way from New York City. Let's hear it for Nick.
Thank you. Cheers to Sid. Good job, Sid. Excellent. How you doing? My name is Nick D, and I'm from New York. I moved down here just about 3 years ago. And almost from the minute I got here, everybody would ask me the same question. Why Jacksonville? Well, we were headed to Boca, like everybody else from New York. And I got off at Phillips Highway to use the bathroom and said, screw it, let's just live here. I guess in hindsight, I should have held it in until we got to Ponte Vedra. But when I was in New York, I spent 20 years as a New York City police officer. I retired. Thank you. Thank you. Obviously, never saw me do the job. Thank you very much. I retired back in 2008, which is about 6 years and 50 pounds ago. And someone once asked me, what was the worst day I ever had on the job up there? So well, I think that's pretty obvious. Police in New York, worst day. It was the day that McDonald's stopped selling the McRib. Traumatic for me. Well, what I liked about being a New York City cop is that there's so many of us, so there's a lot of opportunity to move around. So I was a bicycle cop for a little while. And I don't know if it was the way I looked or whatever, but they assigned me to one of those big tricycles that you see old people pedaling around in, with the bell, the streamers, and the big basket on the back. A little embarrassing. So I transferred on out of there. And I went to go work for the K-9 unit, to work with dogs. And it was going well, but the German Shepherd that they assigned me, he was a dropout from Seeing Eye Dog School. He was a great dog and all, but every time we'd chase after someone, he would stop at every corner, look both ways, make sure there was no cars coming. We lost a lot of bad guys that way. Oh, and I'm going to spare you the story of when I was in the motorcycle unit and I wanted to wear assless chaps. Nobody wants to see that. But I did most of my time in the NYPD working the streets of the Bronx. If you're not familiar with the Bronx, it's a lot like the North Side, only not quite as peaceful. And if you know anything about those areas, then you know that parenting is not a skill that's too widely practiced. So we're on patrol one day, and I see this kid, probably 12, 13 years old, drinking from a can of Budweiser. So we pull over, I get out to talk to him, and say, hey, don't you think you're a little too young to be drinking beer? So that's nothing. I got laid when I was 10. I said, 10? How the hell did that happen? I said, I don't know, I was too drunk to remember. But the thing I liked least about being a police officer was writing tickets. I know you probably don't believe that, but you ask most of the cops I work with, they would tell you the same thing. It was a real hassle. But my favorite was always the excuses. You know, gotta pee, gotta poop, gotta jerk off, gotta get home, gotta do this, gotta do that. I've heard them all. But the best was always, why aren't you out there arresting drug dealers? Always drug dealers. Never murderers, rapists, child molesters. The poor misunderstood drug dealer. You know, he has to support his family too. So I'm about to hand this lady her ticket one day, and she says, you know, they're selling drugs right up there in the park. I said, okay, ma'am, I'll tell you what. You lead the way, I'll follow you. You point them out, I'll lock them up, we'll throw this ticket in the garbage. She said, well, I don't know who they are. Oh, that's too bad. Here's your ticket. And my friends would always ask me, what television show gets the cop thing right? You know, what's the most accurate? Well, to tell you the truth, I never really watched too many police shows on TV. I always get enough of the real stuff at work. I didn't really want to come home and watch a TV show about my job. Unless, of course, my job was gynecologist. I'd probably come home and watch a show about that. Well, better yet, gynecologist by day, cop by night. I would be the labia lawman, or the vagina vigilante. But the reason I don't watch a lot of TV these days is the lack of theme songs. You know, back in the old days, you used to have theme songs beginning of every show to tell you what it was all about. Right? Brady Bunch, fine example. It's a story of a lovely lady bringing up three very lovely girls. So right away you know who all the characters are, how they're related. And by the way, am I the only one who thinks that those kids didn't grieve long enough for their dead parents? Right? I mean, these are little kids. Your mom dies, you wake up the next day and dad's doing a hot blonde down the street. It just didn't add up for me. Now, another show with a good theme song, very informative, very narrative, Gilligan's Island, right? Sit right back, you'll hear the tale of a fateful trip. You could turn the show off after the theme song, you wouldn't miss a thing. It tells you the whole story right in the song. And another thing, why didn't the population of that island ever change? Right? You had a beautiful movie star and a pretty farm girl, and nobody on that island was getting their freak on? I mean, if I was the skipper, I'd be like, Marianne, would you come down here and give me a hand with the captain's log? Thank you very much. But while watching TV the other night, I came across a commercial for an online school, grades kindergarten through 12. So now if your kid goes to an online college, he'll go about the first 22 years of his life without having interactions with real human beings. I'm not sure I would have liked that too much. I enjoyed my high school days, probably a little bit too much. I was a bit of a theater geek, and also president of my AV squad. So, you know, ladies, chick magnet, right here. And besides, if your kid goes to school online, how's he supposed to have sex with his teacher? Right? I mean, can you believe how much this still goes on? I know I can. But what could these teachers be thinking? You're gonna do a 16-year-old boy and he's not gonna tell his friends about it? I mean, if that was me, that shit would have been part of my yearbook profile. Right? Football, 2 and 3. School paper, 2 and 3. Did Miss Webster in the art supply closet, between 3 and 4. Everything. Everything. And then, of course, I'd have to put that up on social media, right? And personally, I think social media's getting kind of played out. I mean, I Facebook, I tweet, I Instagram, I do all that stuff. But I think now we just know way too much about each other. And so much so, when we finally get together, we got nothing to say, right? And if we are saying something, it's usually about a Facebook post we read. Bob, how was that cheeseburger you had last week? You missed the line. I gotta say it again. Bob, how was that cheeseburger you had last week? Oh, it was great. You see the poop I tweeted about 2 hours later? It was delicious. But my wife and I recently celebrated our 15th wedding anniversary. Don't exactly, oh please. For me it was easy. She has to sleep with this mess. Right? For me it was real easy. But it's not my first marriage. I was divorced several years ago. Well, it's not divorced anymore, right? It's a conscious uncoupling. Have you ever heard anything so pretentious in your life? Conscious uncoupling? Now, don't get me wrong. A while back I was once part of an unconscious coupling, but that's a story for another day. But, you know, why is it so hard for a celebrity to admit that they're not good at something, right? Oh, I've been consciously uncoupled. No, ma'am, you suck at marriage. Nothing to be ashamed of. Half the world sucks at marriage. Oh, and while we're at it, you suck at naming your kids, too. But when I moved down here a couple of years ago, one of the things I needed to get used to real quick was Southern hospitality. Very real thing. First place I ran into it was the Publix, right across the street here in the supermarket. I'm in there, loading up the groceries, get online, and this little old lady starts unpacking my cart and throwing it on the belt. And I was like, hey, what are you doing? It's my stuff. Get your hands off my stuff. And she said, no, sir, this is my job. We unload the car for you. Oh, that's pretty nice. And then as the cashier's ringing it up, she's putting it all in bags for me. I said, you don't get this kind of service in New York. This is wonderful. So then it's all said and done, and then she offers to take my bags out to the car and load it up for me. This lady, about 75, 80 years old, probably weighed 90 pounds soaking wet. I mean, what am I gonna say? I said, yeah. And while you're at it, grab one of them rug shampoos and 5-gallon water jugs. Throw it right up on your shoulder. And another thing I noticed a large amount of down here, a lot of people enjoy their piercings and tattoos. A lot of piercings, a lot of tattoos. One example, young ladies right in front here. I'm really digging the ink work a lot. Very, very nice. Oh look, I get the card. Oh, she owns a tattoo shop. Okay, that explains all the time. But I saw this girl with so many piercings in her face the other day. She looked like our kitchen utensil drawer. I mean, I can't imagine being stuck behind this woman at airport security, right? Ma'am, you're gonna have to take all that metal off. Okay. Hold on for me. I got my first ear piercing just a couple of months ago. It's something I always wanted to do. I was always putting it off. I was never afraid of the pain or anything like that. I was just afraid if anybody ever stuck me with a pin, I go all over the mall. It'd be very embarrassing. And one of the first things I discovered when I moved in down here is that I live next door to a gay couple. That's right, I have next door gabers. Chuck and Chris, real good guys, very, very neighborly, very friendly. The other day I have to be careful the way I talk around them though, because the other day I was doing some work in my bathroom, some tile work, and my caulking gun went empty. So right in the middle of the job, I run next door, knock on the door, and Chuck answers and said, Chuck, you think I brought some caulk? And I think he misunderstood. So started lighting candles and pouring drinks. Oh, Chuck, caulk, C-A-U-L-K. He was very disappointed. But a couple of weeks ago, oh, the story's not over. A couple of weeks ago, I was taking a vacation and my ride to the airport crapped out at the last minute. So I called Chuck, I asked him to come over and give me a lift. So he goes, oh, of course, where are you going? I said, well, I'm just taking a little vacation. He goes, oh, good, I'll come over and pack your shit. That's okay, thanks, I got it. And as we're heading up 95 to the airport, you know, I'm running kind of late, so I look over and on the speedometer, he's got the cruise control set at 68. I said, Chuck, could we speed it up a little bit? I'm gonna miss my plane. He said, I would, but I'm afraid if I go to 69, I'll blow a rod. Okay, that's understood. That's what we don't want that to happen. But my favorite thing is the way my mom refers to them. She could never just say those two guys. She always feels the necessity to give their backstory. Well, their backdoor story would be in this case. But the other day I overheard her talking to her sister on the phone in New York, and she said, Marjorie, do you know who lives next door to your nephew? Two of those gays. But they're so nice, and you never know it. And I just think it's beautiful when two men love each other that way. Because they're so impeccably dressed all the time. And then she starts getting on my case. You should dress more like Chuck and Chris. So, well, you know, Mom, when you spend all that time in the closet, you got a lot of time to pick out a really nice outfit. That's my time, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Nick D. You've been awesome. Thank you very much.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, this next comedian, he is so laid back. I don't even have to introduce him, but I will. Ladies and gentlemen, here he is, my man himself, Patrick!
Thank you, Sid. I appreciate that. You notice that Sid is the oldest guy here performing tonight, and the only one in shape enough to tuck his shirt in. A little bit about myself. I used to be in the home improvement industry. I was a divorce attorney. No, not really. I was in the home improvement industry, though. I was out there hoping to be discovered by one of those scouts from Angie's List, but nobody ever showed up, so I had to come out and get a real job, so I'm doing stand-up comedy now, so it's something very, very successful. Yeah. Trying to get back into shape, too. I don't know if you've noticed, but I am a little overweight, but I was lying in bed and I saw that commercial for that P90X program. I thought, Yeah, I can do that. It looks like hard work, but it's only 90 days. I can handle 90 days. So I got the program 2 months ago, and I'm very proud. And now you can't tell because you don't know me, but so far I have lost 2 easy payments of $39.95. One more payment, and this is all mine, free and clear. I've got to look forward to. I do want to touch on a public service announcement. Now, this is a very touchy subject for some people, but it's about texting and driving. There's a lot of idiots out there texting and driving. Now, anybody here text and drive? Come on, yeah, I know, I do it too, right? But we're not the idiots, right? It's everybody else. And I got this one guy in point. I was driving over the Doctors Lake Bridge, and this guy came by in a rented U-Haul pickup truck. Now, of course, you don't take care of rentals and all that stuff as much as you do your vehicle, but this guy was texting and driving. I mean, just right up on the steering wheel, texting and driving. And I thought, not only does he not care about himself, but he doesn't care about